All right, welcome back, everybody. We are in our second segment today talking about supplements that many of you may be about to write. Maybe you're already started on them, but we're talking about the supplemental essays for Harvard and Tufts. And joining me for that is Jen Simons, who is my colleague here at College Coach, but also happens to be a former admissions officer at Tufts, in addition to Barnard, Connecticut College, and Northeastern. So she's got lots of perspective and experience. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Beth. So good to see you.
Good to see you as well. All right, we have a lot to cover in the time we have, so we're going to hop right in, and we'll start with Tufts. So Tufts requires 2 supplemental essays. So why don't we go through the one? There's one that is required of everyone, and the other is you have a choice. So the first question is, what aspects of the Tufts undergraduate experience prompt your application? In short, why Tufts? Which I very much appreciate that they basically sum it up for you. The key here is it's 100 to 150 words, which can be tricky. So what's your advice on this one?
Yeah, so my first advice, even before we delve into the question itself, is to really, especially with Tufts, I'm a little bit biased because I've seen how these questions have evolved firsthand. I want you to look at all of the questions that Tufts is asking you. And I also want you, before you start to answer them, say, what is Tufts trying to tell me about Tufts? So when you're looking, I mean, the why Tufts, everyone or many schools have a why us, but really, I want you to look at all the questions in concert and say to yourself, what does Tufts want me to know about the culture there? Right away, right off the bat, you see that they're sort of slightly conversational. It's not a formal place. Like you just said, why Tufts?
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that. It's telling me right off the bat that they don't want a very long answer. Duh, you have 100 words to answer it. And that's actually more difficult, I think, than writing a long answer. And they also don't focus on the academics or any part of the Tufts experience in particular. That is up to you. So with every why us answer, I want you to sort of make the connection very specifically between what you have to offer and what they have to offer. And it's not easy to do. It's going to be a sentence or two, but really it's about saying, this is why I would be a good fit for you. And really, more importantly, in this particular case, this is why you are a good fit for me.
Right. When I'm working with students on this, I really encourage them to be less all over the place and try to cram a million things in, and more, maybe one or two, 100 to 150 words. There's not a lot of room there, right? So 1 or 2 things, but I do want them to be specific. So not just, if it's something where I could put my thumb, it's the thumb test we talk about all the time. If I could remove Tufts' name, and this could be about literally any school, which I have seen them, that could literally be about any school, you have not done a good job with this one. You do have to be specific about, right, a program or something like that.
Absolutely. I will actually go in the other direction now, because I think the good news is that students have been listening to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so they know that they're going to, they're going to be specific. The bad part of this is I don't want you going onto the website and finding the most obscure program that might not even be in existence anymore because some graduate school hasn't taken it off their website. So I want you to be specific, but it's not about impressing them with how much sort of random, stuff about the institution. So don't go overboard
Yes,
either,
agreed. Yeah, it has to feel authentic. We talk about that
Right.
too. All right,
Of
we
course.
don't have a ton of time, so let's delve in,
Sorry.
because in the next supplement, they give you 3 choices, but per your advice, let's read the actual question that they say. Think outside the box as you answer the following questions. Take a risk and go somewhere unexpected. Be serious if the moment calls for it, but feel comfortable being playful if that suits you too. Pick one of the following options. So you choose one. This is a little longer. It's 200 to 250 words. So let's go through each of the options one by one. Option A, it's cool to love learning. What excites your intellectual curiosity?
Okay. So that's where you're getting into the very specifics, not about Tufts. This does not have to be about Tufts. If it can be, okay, but really what we had a question back in the olden days. I'm not making this up, a Tufts question. What makes you tick?
Mhm.
And it wasn't a successful question because I think a lot of students didn't recognize that expression, like they didn't know what it meant.
What
So
does
we
that
got a
mean?
lot of
Yeah.
answers about clocks, and we got a lot of answers about bugs and things like that. So this is really about the life of the mind. It's, you could have other passions, you could love lacrosse, you could love knitting, whatever it is, but this is about how you are going to take what you love academically and bring it toward, this community in Medford.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that, I don't know. Okay.
No, I love that one. And I think you've described it well. It's really just, it's showing that life of the mind, like you said. And I often talk about that intellectual spark, and not everybody has it. And it's hard to describe what it is. And, but when it comes across in an application, it's a great thing to see. And this is a question, in my opinion, that allows students to show it if they have it. And really, we all have intellectual curiosity. So, but if you sort of look at that and think, deer in the headlights, I have no idea what I would write, then let's move on. And why don't we do that? Option B, how have the environments or experiences of your upbringing, your family, home, neighborhood, or community shaped the person you are today?
Yeah,
Quick
absolutely.
thoughts on that.
So this is interesting because I think a lot of students, and this is something that we hear from students all the time, is that nothing sort of dramatic has happened to me. My family is a nuclear family. It's very typical, or they think it's typical. It's
Sure.
probably less typical than they think it is, so they don't really think that they're interesting enough. This isn't asking you to be interesting. It's asking you to explain who you are.
Mhm.
The, again, I'm reflecting, I'm sorry, I'm going back into the files here, but there was a former Tufts question, let your life speak. Who are you? And so basically what they want to know is simply, how have your surroundings shaped who you are? Don't read into it. Don't think you're not exciting enough or not dramatic enough or anything like that. Unlike the first question about sort of what intellectually excites you, you don't need to sort of back anything up. So I will say, just to go backwards a little bit, for that first question, if you're really excited about Mandarin and learning Chinese, then there has to be a little bit something more to it than I think it's a very useful language. It's interesting, you have to have some experience with it. This question is just you being authentically, there's that word again, but you being you. Who do
Mhm.
you live with? Who is in your community? Who is important to you? It might not be the family that you live with. It might be the family that you consider your family in another way. There's nothing to prove here. You're just sort of explaining so that they can get a glimpse into your life.
Right, exactly. Share something that if we knew you really well, we would know about you, is often one of the ways I think about this too. Okay, option C. So again, there are three choices. This is the third, you choose one. Where are you on your journey of engaging with or fighting for social justice? This is an interesting one. It's new, I think, this year.
It's new because I think, and I don't know this for a fact, I haven't spoken to anyone on Tufts admissions, but this is what they're trying to tell you, is that this is important to us.
Yep.
So, if this question is not important to you, then don't answer it. If it is, if you are the type of student that's going to get excited by this question, you're probably going to be very happy at Tufts and feel like you're, and whatever that means. I will say that we get this question all the time about expressing your sort of political feelings, or maybe you're concerned that you are in the minority or the majority. I will remind you that there's no right or wrong answer. I shouldn't say that. I suppose if you set a at all in social justice or equality, you shouldn't be answering the question. Like, that's not,
Right.
you know, I mean, if you wanted to say, I have my head in books and I can't stop reading Shakespeare long enough to think about what's happening in the world, then you should be answering the first question. It's
Exactly,
not that,
exactly.
It's
Yes.
not that you wouldn't fit in, but that's not your question. If this is your question, there's also no right or wrong way to answer it in terms of what your approach is to feelings about, social justice, equality, things like that. It's perfectly fine to state your opinion in a way that is backed up by things that you've done, things that you want to do, and is balanced in a way that I won't read this and think, oh gosh, this person doesn't really have any tolerance for, they might have strong feelings, but oh, they don't have any tolerance for opposing points of view. So you don't have to come at this from the right or the left or, in any particular way. But if this is your question, it should excite you. And this should be like, oh, I want to write about this.
Right.
And Tufts is saying this is important to us.
Yes. Got it. Love it. And then if you're so excited about answering that question, it's probably a good sign that Tufts is a good fit for you. All right, let's move on to Harvard. What's interesting to me about the evolution of the Harvard supplement is that I used to travel when I worked at Penn with members of the Harvard admissions team. And the thing that they always shared with us was, we literally mean optional when we say optional but we had to offer a supplement because everyone just wanted to send so much extra stuff. So make of that what you will, but if you're applying to Harvard, you don't need to do more than what they are already giving you the opportunity to do here. And Harvard is giving you, they have one that is required, which is a vestige of a long ago version of the Common App when you had to write an essay about extracurricular activities. And the other two are optional, and there are two. So if you really want to send extra, you need to find a way to take advantage of these two optional and not send a bunch of other stuff. Let's go with the one that's required first. Please briefly elaborate on one of your extracurricular activities or work experiences. I would argue that work and extracurricular are the same thing, but not everyone always recognizes it as that. 50 to 150 words. Key thoughts on this one?
I have some thoughts. Before we dive in, can I just sort of talk philosophically about the whole Harvard thing? And I promise. So the way I think about supplemental questions is that every answer, I should say, is going to either provide a piece of the puzzle that becomes you, right? You're going to put sort of all the pieces of the puzzle together, or it's going to reinforce something so strongly, like a theme, something, so it either has to complete the picture of you, or it has to be like, gosh, this kid loves soccer. Soccer is this, soccer is that, soccer is everything. And so you have to sort of think about this. What is the picture of myself that I want to get across? That's really important. That's how you start with this. And what I love about the Harvard questions is that they're very simple. They're so straightforward. Don't overthink this. They're like the most basic, simple sentences. So in terms of the first question, to answer your question, oh my gosh, Beth, could you please repeat?
It's the activities essays. Elaborate on one of your extracurricular activities.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. I knew that would happen. It doesn't get much more straightforward than that. Do you want it to fill in a piece of the puzzle? Do you want to talk about something that, oh, this is surprising. I took up crocheting during COVID and I'm really, really into it. You're not going to know this from anywhere else in my application. Or is it that soccer? And you might see this, but I just have to tell you how passionate I am about that. Right. Couldn't be more straightforward.
Share another facet of it. If you are deepening the image of something that you're really passionate about, it's a different facet we need to see, or it's something brand new that we don't know. Love it. Okay. The first optional is also 150 words max. And it's asking about your intellectual life, which may extend beyond the academic requirements of your particular school. Please use this space to list additional intellectual activities that you have not mentioned or detailed elsewhere, which could include but are not limited to supervised or self-directed projects not done as schoolwork, training experiences, online courses not run by your school, or summer academic or research programs not described elsewhere. So really briefly, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, they give you another question about books that you've read, things that you've done. This question is another one of those questions where you should have to answer this question because you've done something that's so important to you that doesn't fit anywhere else into the application, or you want to reinforce it elsewhere in the application. this is a Harvard question. This is something that, have you gone above and beyond and you
Yes.
really are so spectacular in something, you're known for this thing. This is not only your passion, but this is an extraordinary accomplishment. This is something you want to show off. This is really something that you're proud of and you have to share it. And chances are your teachers will be talking about it in their recommendations. You might get an extra letter from the school principal or something like that. But this is really going to be the jewel in your crown of the application
Right.
response.
Yeah, absolutely. This is probably a little bit more about your distinguishing excellence than maybe you'd been able to express elsewhere. And I think that's a good way to think about it. The last optional option, for lack of a better word, is basically to include one more essay. And this can literally be about anything that you wanted to. And they say that you may wish to include an additional essay because you don't feel you've had sufficient space to do so. This is the one where they're like, okay, fine, you want to send us something more? Here's your opportunity. It could be a topic of your choice, or they give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 potential things for you to think about. We're not going to go through all 10 of them here. Final words or thoughts from you on this particular essay.
I would be surprised if you use the topic of your choice, because I do think they give you such a good spectrum of other questions. Again, that's where like the books come in, the unusual circumstances. This is your opportunity to sort of talk about whatever you want. I would not, the one thing, I get asked by students all the time, should I tell them how much I want to go to Harvard? Nope.
That's not the place for this.
Not
They
the place
know
for
it.
this. But other than that, Beth, do you think there's anything that they shouldn't talk about? I guess I'm not really answering the question except to say anything goes here.
I think anything goes there. I really do. I think it could be funny. I think it could be serious. I think it could be academic. I think it could be completely non-academic. When there is an option that says you can include a list, it can literally be a list. I think the sky is the limit, which can be a little daunting, but as you point out, they give you 10 options plus whatever.
Yeah.
I've had students who have written something really strong that might be related to another application. If we can't tell exactly the school they were writing it for, then sometimes they will use something like that. If you can tell who it was written for, then I think sometimes you could tweak it and make it work. But really the sky is the limit here, and which is great, and also its own special prison, I think. But Jen, thank you so much for joining today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Great to see you, Beth. Take care.
All right, you too.
Thanks.
Okay, we're going to go to a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to be talking about